And welcome back. France wasn't the only minor nation that received a top tier plane. We got China, and here we are with Italy as well, the F-104S.ASA. It has flares, it has AIM-9Ls, it has a pulse Doppler radar, and it has some new radar missiles. Problem with all of these things is it's still an F-104S. It's still a decent support plane, it's extremely fast, it has amazing acceleration, but do keep in mind, defensively you have very little options. Nowadays though, you have some flares at your disposal in this thing, which help an absolute metric ton, and it's probably the biggest upgrade over the other F-104 that you have right now. You also pay for that with an increased BR because it's 11.3. The AIM-9Ls, as you saw just now in the intro on that F4J that was extremely frantically flaring my missile, sometimes they do that. They do have a tendency to ignore flares more than other missiles, but there are still some problems with it. You shoot a missile at someone that's basically flying straight, someone that's almost stalled out, and a missile will just overlead. They feel a little bit like AIM-9Gs in that regard. They have the same amount of range. I think they pull a little bit harder, but they feel very similar. And they all are quote unquote all aspect. These are not true all aspect missiles. They do not lock all things directly from the front. A little bit side aspect, yeah, and they definitely help in terms of trying to maintain the heat signature if you already have the lock, if the missile's already on the way, but these are not all aspects like you are used to with the R60Ms. The flares are great, AIM-9Ls are a little bit hit or miss. How are the S-speeders? Well, I'm not gonna be running radar missiles if I have to sacrifice my gun. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. I need this Vulcan. I'd rather bring the Vulcan and the 4 AIM-9Ls. You do have a pulse Doppler radar, which is largely useless because, well, you won't really be using your radar missiles anyway. And another thing, a little bit broken, the RWR always pings from your 12 o'clock. Keep this in mind. If you get locked from behind, the left, the right, the top, doesn't matter. If you get locked, it will show up on the front, and you can see it on the RWR on the left as well. It's always pinging on my 12 o'clock. This is extremely annoying. You do know when you are getting locked, but you have no idea where from. So at a certain point, if you're still getting radar pings or RWR pings from your own airfield, and there's already like an enemy and like an MLD locking you up, you might actually not really notice, because it doesn't really transition, it doesn't show where from, and you don't really know that it's a different thing locking you. 10 guys can be locking you, it will still show you one line. Problematic. The radar also kind of bugged, especially when you use something like ACM mode, and the radar will start flashing. You know, the ACM mode is the hotkey that gives you a little box in front of you, and if someone goes in the box and it is a valid lock, it will lock them up and you don't have to press another key. If you do that, it will go in a random position on the screen. Sometimes it will go all the way up like 40 to 50 degrees up from your nose, and another time it will be directly on your nose, the other time it will be below your nose. Doesn't really make sense. I think it's just visual, but again, it doesn't really matter because you don't have a gun sight or gun lead indicator, and I won't be running the radar missiles anyway. And this is just a quick showcase of the plane. I will be going into the gameplay really quick here. I got a pretty good carry together with a random guy I found named Finn McMissile, as well as Hookah, and some of you guys might know him as Nuka. He makes montages and they're pretty good. Highly advise you to check them out. Will be in the description. But for now, I'm just going to be trying to outrun the missile, and people really like sitting on this thing 6, and I'm not entirely sure why. And going head on with an A10 is not that big of a deal. You just shoot a little bit more rounds than usual. If you get a hit, you'll probably hit a few, but the A10 is so damn slow, it's actually not capable of dodging the head-on. The A10 might seem very scary in a head-on, but if you have a Vulcan and a pretty fast plane, he can't really do anything. And even if I pull in at like 700 to 800 meters, very risky, I do not recommend it, but you'll probably get away with it because I can actually move out of the way. The A10 is so slow, it's basically flying in place, and if you're flying in place, it makes a pretty damn easy target. Mirage is in a dogfight, kind of turning towards me, and that's where the AIM-9Ls come in handy, because they have just a little bit more, well, capability of locking in those near head-on shots. And this is how I fly it. I try to stay low at the start, depending on the map and the matchmaking. If I'm fighting F4Js, I'd rather get a little bit less altitude. MLDs, it's not as problematic. With the F4Js, I kind of just like using the terrain. The AIM-7Fs, after the buff they've received quite a while ago, are extremely annoying. So you want to be careful of them, and especially since you do not know where the lock is coming from. By the time you know where the lock is coming from, you might actually already be too late. So I like to just stay low. If the RWR gets fixed, I might start climbing again. And versus Russians, it depends a little bit. This match, there's a lot of terrain, so I'm gonna stay low. If I'm on a map like El Alamein, I'll probably get a little bit more altitude, because staying on the deck doesn't really matter. I run the mixed countermeasure set, just so that I have the same amount of flares as well as chaff, and you do pop 2 at a time, and since I have mix I will drop 4 at a time, so you do run out pretty quickly. MiG-23 here is almost stalled out. I'm not gonna shoot him, or not gonna shoot him with a missile, because the missile might have gone for my teammate, so I hold my fire, not worth the risk, and I just go on to my merry way. I'm running half afterburner for a lot of the match, just to decrease the fuel consumption a bit. So if you're wondering why I'm so slow and using so little fuel, that is why. Go to 100% throttle, scroll up your scroll wheel 1 or 2 times. Afterburner goes on, but you won't be using the one fully. Shoot a missile at the F4F, going sideways, shooting at someone else, not paying attention. Easy kill, try to get a head-on kill on the MiG-21. Doesn't actually end up happening. Careful with the MiG-21s in the head-on, because MiG-21s in the head-on have the R60 MKs, and they can be kinda scary if they shoot them at very close ranges, and you are not prepared for it. If you do not have your finger on the flare button, very likely you are gonna get hit by it. J7E shoots a missile at us. PL5s have very high ranges, so I want to make sure that I dodge that properly. Even though he's very far away and I'm a lot faster, you still want to be well aware of it, because it might reach you at like 5 to 6 kilometers. The range on the PL5s are nothing to laugh about. MiG-21 coming head on. I do want to get that shot in, don't actually manage to hit it. It's a MiG-21 MF, so I'm not really worried. So I just don't have to flare, I don't have to do anything, and we just kind of dust him and fly away. Here I'm just kind of, my mind kind of went blank. Long day. I should have locked someone up, shot a missile, and then went for the J7 afterwards. But hey, J7 giving me a full profile shot. He's going very slow. J7 is one of the most annoying planes to face in this thing, because they don't really lose speed. And we just leave the area again, and that's of course the patented F-104 gameplay. You fly straight, you use your Excel, and you just kinda leave everyone in the dust. Throttle back up here, throttle up fully, outrun the missile, don't really have to do anything. And we just kinda leave him to burn, because he can't really do anything. He's accelerating slowly again, and Wuka is gonna kill the MiG-21 Bissau just as expected. I mark him to say, can you please attack this guy, and I'm gonna start bringing this guy up. He didn't respond, but knowing him, if he sees it, he has the capability, he will probably come and try. Su-22 right ahead of us, so I have to break off my bait a little bit, but now I'm gonna try to intercept this guy so that he will not interfere with the dogfight that Nuka is having in the middle of the map. Shoot in the head on, manage to shoot a little bit low, and now I can turn after him, because Finn McMissile over here also needs some help. He has 2 guys on the 6, they're all pretty damn close, so he is likely going to die, and I'd rather keep this F-104 alive right now. And I don't really have the time to turn around. Nuka gets killed by the Su-22 that I failed to kill. And now he is 1v2 versus 2 MiG-21s, and we are 2v2 over here. And I can try to break off and go help them, but then I will not help this guy. And then by the time I reach the other teammate behind me, Finn McMissile will be dead, he will be dead, and then it's 1v4. So now I'm kind of forced to go in here, help this guy as quickly as I can, missile him out of the air. It's now 1v2, and I can go a little bit aggressive after this guy, because it's a MiG-21 MF. I want to kill this guy as quickly as I can. I do not want those other 2 guys coming in and give off some backup. Unfortunately, the MiG-21 decides to pitch up after me. He's gonna sit on my 6, and that's gonna be a little bit annoying, because now I cannot turn back in and try to kill him. Su-22 coming in, I'm gonna spray in the head on here. I have plenty of ammo. He doesn't dodge just like the previous time. We shoot a little bit higher, because we shot too low the last time. Prefab, because I wasn't sure which MiG-21 that was, but it's an MF, so not the biggest problem. Missile coming in, we drop the afterburner, drop 1 flare. He is completely out of energy, and we are just gonna dust him and leave him to dry. I'm gonna turn in slightly so that Finn McMissile over there can come in and intercept the MiG-21 that's on my 6, and then I will do the same thing and intercept the guy that's on his 6. He's gonna come head on with us here, but they're both coming head on with us. However, Jacob here is much faster, so he will reach me much faster, so I should head on at him. Then we dodge the second guy, and we just go straight up into a little bit of a spiral. I still have 4 countermeasures, which isn't the most. We only have 2 pops at this point, maybe enough for one missile. Fin McMissile here on that guy. He's out of flares however, but he manages to just set the guy on fire before going down. And now the other MiG-21 that we just engaged in head-on is at a pretty severe energy disadvantage. And I have one missile left, and this is going to be the best opportunity to use it because he's going pretty slow. So there's a chance that the flares won't really do anything because he's pretty much in place, and he'll try to dodge it, bleed even more speed, he'll be even slower, and then he should be a pretty easy picking for the Vulcan. And that's exactly what happens. We set him on fire in a single shot, he is gonna burn up, and that is gonna be ace. And on to the last game for today. We are coming in from the side this time at a little bit more of an altitude because there's no, well, elevation on this map. Anyway, F5 looks to be not really paying attention, flying kind of away from us. Shoot a missile at him. F4J coming in, I want to make sure that I intercept him. He doesn't really seem to be paying attention. We set him on fire as we managed to missile the F5 on the other side of the map. That's 2 kills in very quick succession, and now we just want to go to the middle of the map and help our teammates out as much as you can. The nice thing about this plane is you are so fast, you retain your energy so well, and you have so much acceleration that you can basically, well, be everywhere on the map. Do be careful though that you don't end up trying to help everywhere, where you're like, oh, that guy needs help, that guy needs help, and you keep turning away and going to the wrong guy. If you make a decision, stick to it, because if you don't stick to it and you just keep changing it up 3 to 4 times, you end up making no decision, and making no decision in the end will do much less for your team than just sticking to the first one, even though it might have been the worst one to kill. It's better to kill someone than to kill no one. Sounds pretty logical, doesn't it? A10 going head on with us, and well, he just doesn't have the energy to do anything here. If he tries to pitch up for us, we have flares, and we have a lot of them. And the A10 is extremely slow at this point. Problem is he has 500 flares, so he might not actually get gunned down there real quick. So I'm gonna see what my teammate is doing. If the A10 goes down here, I will not pursue, but the MiG-21 misses, so I'm gonna pull back in here, help him out real quick, just in the event that the MiG-21 loses the dogfight. And it looks like the A10 is actually gonna get a shot here, so we're just gonna gun him out of the air. He missed the first burst, and we completely disintegrate him with the next one. And we break off and go back to the middle of the map. There's an F5E as well as an F4E on somewhere else on the map, and we are just going to intercept the F4E first, because the F5E, while he is infinitely more annoying to kill, the F4E is infinitely more dangerous, because he can actually use his radar missiles. He has that Vulcan, a lot more range, a lot more missiles, and it's just a more scary plane in general. I'm flying towards him, and I'm kind of like flying towards him. I didn't notice he crashed, and someone in my in the Discord call was like, yo, that guy crashed, why are you still flying at him? Well, because I didn't know. F4E crashes, and now we are just gonna go to the other side of the map and kill the last guy, which is gonna be the MiG-21. As well as an AV-8C. But you know, AV-8C, not really a plane you'll be facing a lot on this thing, but sometimes you might end up running into one, because a lot of guys are actually up tiering their A10s in a squad. Not sure why. A lot of AV-8s and A10s that are 9.7. We shoot a missile, it doesn't actually pull in. Just kidding, it does. He's way too slow. That's gonna be kill number 5. And then the MiG-21 is gonna land. And what we will do now is wait for him to take off and then shoot an AIM-9L in his general direction. Unfortunately for us, he is however going to bail out, and that is going to be game. F-104S.ASA, pretty much the same thing as you expected, except it looks better and it has some flares. Is it worth the trade-off? Probably up to you, but at least considering how much you get up to it anyway at 9 or 10.7, you might as well run this thing anyway. Hope you liked it. See you tomorrow or maybe the day after.